All right, UPSC Warriors, let's dive right into those current affairs from December the 11th. We're going to make it quick and efficient, just like you need for prelims prep.
Absolutely. It's all about hitting those key points and making those connections that really matter for the exam.
So today we've got a mix of everything. A little bit of history.
Some environmental stuff.
Oh, yeah. And can't forget about that cutting-edge tech that always seems to pop up.
UPSC loves to throw us a curveball every now and then.
So let's start with something familiar. PM Modi, releasing the complete works of C. Subramania Bharati. I'm sure most of you already know about Bharati.
Yeah, a true icon of the Indian independence movement.
But just a quick reminder, he was so much more than just a poet. His writings, especially those powerful Tamil poems,
They were like fuel for the freedom struggle.
imagine the impact of his words during that time.
Especially when the nation was yearning for independence.
Now here's a connection for you. Bharati spent time in exile in Pondicherry. And guess who else settled in the same city?
Aurobindo goes. Another pivotal figure in India's fight for freedom.
Right. Aurobindo started as a revolutionary.
Advocating for complete independence.
So later on, his focus shifted more toward spiritual philosophy and yoga.
Quite a journey.
But both figures, though, their paths were different.
They both played a huge role in shaping the India we see today.
And speaking of impactful figures, we can't forget about Madhav Gadgil, the incredible ecologist who just won the UN's highest environmental honor.
The Champion of the Earth Award.
It's a big deal.
This award recognizes those taking on the world's biggest environmental challenges.
Like climate change.
Biodiversity loss.
And, of course, pollution.
It's divided into several categories.
Like policy leadership.
Science and innovation.
Which one do you think fits Gadgil's work best?
I'd say he probably fits into more than one.
That's a good one to think about.
Could be a potential prelims question right there.
All right, let's shift gears to something that directly impacts your future as officers. The India Skills Report 2025.
This report gives us a glimpse into the future of India's workforce. It was put together by some big names in the industry.
CII
WeBox.
and ACTE.
So, it's reliable stuff. The main finding, a projected 7% rise in employability among graduates.
Sounds pretty good.
But there's more to this story.
Oh, I bet. Like what kind of graduates are we talking about?
Well, management graduates seem to have the highest employability,
Interesting.
followed by engineering and MCA graduates.
Makes sense.
And geographically, most of the employable talent is concentrated in certain states.
Like where?
Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Delhi.
But what really caught my eye was that gender gap. It says that while men's employability is going up,
Yeah,
women's is projected to decline.
that is definitely concerning.
What factors do you think could be contributing to this trend?
It's a complex issue for sure.
Definitely something to ponder.
All right, let's move on to something a bit more exciting. You guys ready for this?
Hit me with it.
The diamond battery.
Okay, that sounds pretty futuristic.
It is. It's powered by carbon-14.
Carbon-14.
Yeah, it's a radioactive isotope.
Okay, I'm following.
But here's the thing. It has an insane half-life.
Like how long are we talking?
5,700 years.
Wow. That's longer than any civilization we know.
And to make it even more incredible, they've encased this carbon-14 in diamond.
So it's super durable.
Think about it, pacemakers. That could last a lifetime.
Oh, wow.
Or reliable power for those remote areas in India where access is limited.
This tech has some serious potential.
It could be a game changer for sure.
So speaking of empowering communities, the Odisha government is planning to get a loan from IFAD. Now, for those who don't know,
IFAD stands for the International Fund for Agricultural Development.
and they're all about rural development and poverty reduction,
Right. They're like a specialized UN agency.
focused on transforming agriculture
Boosting rural
and
economies,
strengthening food systems.
especially in those developing countries where it's needed most.
It's great to see these initiatives getting international support.
Absolutely. And on that note of innovation, researchers at Delhi have developed something pretty remarkable.
Oh, tell me more.
It's called AgeXtend.
AgeXtend.
It's an AI platform that's causing a stir in the healthcare world.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does it do?
Think of it as an AI detective for anti-aging molecules.
An AI detective.
It sifts through tons of data from known anti-aging substances.
So it's learning from what we already know.
Exactly. And then it uses that knowledge to predict new anti-aging molecules.
Oh, that's pretty advanced.
And it doesn't stop there. It even identifies target proteins.
So it knows where these molecules need to go.
And it evaluates toxicity, too.
So it's making sure these new molecules are safe.
They've already screened over 1.1 billion compounds with this platform.
1.1 billion.
That's the scale of innovation we're talking about.
Imagine a future where age-related diseases are a thing of the past.
It's a possibility.
That's pretty amazing.
All right. Now let's switch gears to something a little more down to earth. The world of economics.
Always a hot topic for the UPSC.
We're talking about cesses and surcharges.
These terms can be confusing. So let's try to simplify it.
Think of all the tax money the government collects as a big pie.
I like this analogy.
A cess is like the government taking a slice of that pie.
For a specific purpose.
Exactly, like education or infrastructure.
So it's earmarked for something specific.
And then a surcharge is like the government taking an extra bite out of your slice.
An extra bite.
Usually for general spending.
So it's not as targeted as a cess.
The debate right now is whether the central government is taking too many bites.
With these cesses and surcharges.
Yeah, it leaves the states feeling a bit shortchanged.
Because they get less for their own development projects.
It's a complicated issue.
With a lot of implications.
For sure.
Okay, let's move on to something a bit more celebratory. Geographical Indication Tagged Products. Or GI tags for short.
These are all about celebrating India's incredible diversity and its unique culinary and cultural heritage.
We're talking about products with a very specific geographical origin.
Like Artikekir ginger from Arunachal Pradesh.
Known for its medicinal properties.
Then you've got Dali Kursani.
The fiery red pepper from Sikkim.
And let's not forget Naga King chili from Nagaland.
One of the hottest chilies in the world.
Right, and Kaji Nemo.
The special lemon from Assam.
These GI tags protect the authenticity of these products.
And they empower local communities.
And boost rural economies.
It's a win-win situation.
Preserving tradition while driving economic growth.
And lastly, we have an innovation that's connecting India in a whole new way. The Bluetooth Low Energy Gateway and Node System, developed by IIT Ropar.
This system allows us to connect sensors to the cloud.
Which means real-time monitoring and data analysis.
Imagine farmers being able to monitor their crops remotely.
Or smart cities managing traffic flow more efficiently.
And what's really impressive is that they've built the system with data security in mind.
So it's not just about innovation. It's about responsible innovation.
Absolutely. They've included encryption.
Secure authentication.
And even tamper-proof hardware.
To protect against cyber attacks.
And unauthorized access.
That's great to hear.
It shows they're thinking about the bigger picture.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. But there's still much more to come.
Be sure to stick around for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into some of these topics and explore even more current affairs that are relevant for your UPSC prelims prep. All right, welcome back. It's part 2 of our deep dive.
Ready to jump back in? We left off talking about that impressive Bluetooth system from IIT Ropar.
Yeah, the one connecting sensors to the cloud for real-time data.
But what I found really interesting was how they prioritize data security.
Right. In a world that's becoming more and more reliant on data security, it's got to be a top priority.
So they're not just innovating.
Yeah.
They're doing it responsibly.
Absolutely. They've incorporated encryption protocols, secure authentication, and even tamper-proof hardware into that system.
So pretty robust.
Yeah, it shows they're thinking long-term.
Okay, now let's switch gears to a topic that often trips up UPSC aspirants.
Cesses and surcharges.
Yeah, those can be tricky. We talked about the pie analogy.
Right, but let's dig a little deeper. Article 270 of the Indian Constitution deals with how tax revenues are split between the central government and the states.
So that's where the debate gets heated.
Yeah. This article mandates the sharing of certain taxes.
But cesses and surcharges levied by the central government are exempt from the sharing.
Exactly. That's the crux of the issue. The states argue that the central government is using these cesses and surcharges to get around that mandatory sharing,
leaving them with fewer resources for their own projects.
It's like a constant tug of war for the national budget.
The central government saying they need the funds for national level stuff,
while the states argue they need more to address their specific needs.
It's complex with both economic and political angles.
Through the UPSC prelims, you'll want to understand those constitutional provisions around cesses and surcharges.
Right, and the arguments from both sides.
And of course, the potential impact on fiscal federalism.
So basically, there's growing tension over how these taxes are levied and distributed.
And the states feel like they're getting a bit of a raw deal.
Let's move on to something a bit more positive. Those GI tagged products.
Ah, yes. A true testament to India's rich cultural heritage.
Each tag highlights that special bond between a product and its place of origin.
It's not just about the taste,
It's about the tradition
the local expertise
and even the environmental factors.
that give those products their unique qualities.
And there are benefits beyond preserving that heritage.
GI tags boost incomes for local producers,
Stimulate those rural economies.
and they even attract tourism.
It's a smart way to protect traditional knowledge and use it for economic growth.
Now let's zoom out to the international stage for a bit.
We talked about Odisha trying to secure that loan from IFAD.
The International Fund for Agricultural Development.
But what exactly does IFAD do?
They're all about transforming rural livelihoods in those developing countries.
They provide grants and low-interest loans.
For projects related to agriculture, rural infrastructure, and poverty alleviation.
It's not just handing out money.
It's about supporting sustainable practices.
Empowering women and youth in those rural communities.
And ensuring food security.
Their approach is tackling the root causes of rural poverty.
And creating solutions that last.
Their work lines up with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, too.
Which you'll probably see pop up on the UPSC exams.
So understanding IFAD's role and how it connects to those global goals is definitely important for our listeners.
Now let's talk about another major player on the international scene.
UNEP.
The United Nations Environment Program.
They're the authority on all things environmental.
Leading the charge on things like climate change.
Biodiversity loss.
And pollution.
They promote sustainable practices and environmental conservation worldwide.
We saw their work in action with Madhav Gadgil and that Champion of the Earth Award.
But their reach goes way beyond awards.
They develop and promote environmental policies.
Provide technical assistance to countries.
And support all sorts of scientific research.
They're like the UN's environmental conscience.
Constantly raising awareness, mobilizing action, and protecting our planet.
So for you future policymakers, understanding UNEP's role, their key areas, and how they work with countries on those environmental policies is vital.
Okay. Now let's dive into a world that's rapidly changing everything.
AI.
Artificial intelligence. It's everywhere these days.
From those personalized recommendations on our phones.
To self-driving cars.
But it can also solve some of humanity's toughest challenges.
Like we saw with the AgeXtend platform for those anti-aging molecules.
AI basically gives machines the ability to learn and think like us.
Enabling them to solve problems, make decisions, and even be creative.
It's amazing. But it also raises some tough questions.
For sure, like the ethical implications of AI decision-making.
And the potential for job displacement as automation keeps growing.
And we need to ensure AI is developed and used responsibly.
Those are all critical considerations for any future policymaker.
For the UPSC exams, you need to understand both the potential benefits and risks of AI.
It's about analyzing its impact on society, the economy, our very lives.
It's about seeing the big picture.
And speaking of the big picture,
staying informed is absolutely crucial. In today's world, things move fast.
Especially for a UPSC aspirant.
Keeping up with current affairs is like breathing. It's essential.
It's not just memorizing facts.
It's about understanding the underlying trends.
The connections between events.
And figuring out what it all means for India and the world.
Choose your news sources wisely.
Get different perspectives.
Engage with the information critically.
And make it a daily habit.
And with that reminder, to stay curious and keep learning.
We're wrapping up part 2 of our deep dive.
Get ready for part 3, where we'll tie everything together and leave you with some food for thought.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive. It's time to tie everything together.
You know, one thing that really struck me going through all this info is India's growing role as a global innovator. We're not just playing catch-up anymore.
We're leading the way in some pretty amazing fields.
And that's a key takeaway for all you UPSC prelims folks out there. Understanding India's place on the world stage.
It's crucial for analyzing those policies, predicting trends, and nailing those exam questions.
Absolutely. So let's look back at some examples that highlight this trend.
Like AgeXtend, that AI platform from Delhi making waves in healthcare.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
Imagine a future where we can treat age-related diseases better and maybe even slow down aging itself.
It's not just sci-fi.
Yeah.
They've got real experiments backing it up.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think an Indian institution is at the forefront of this kind of research.
And speaking of groundbreaking tech, remember that diamond battery?
Oh, yeah. That's got to be one of the most incredible innovations we've seen lately.
A battery powered by carbon-14 that lasts for thousands of years.
It could change everything.
From powering medical devices to bringing reliable energy to those remote corners of India.
And don't forget about that Bluetooth system from IIT Ropar.
The one that connects sensors to the cloud.
Yeah, it's cost-effective, secure, and has applications everywhere.
Agriculture, smart cities, you name it.
It's a testament to Indian ingenuity.
Showing that we can create cutting-edge tech that's practical and secure.
All these innovations point to a bigger picture.
India is investing heavily in its future workforce, especially in fields like AI, cybersecurity, and green energy.
Remember that India Skills Report 2025?
Yeah, it projected a 7% rise in employability for graduates in those sectors.
It's a clear sign that India's prepping its young people for the jobs of tomorrow.
It's not just about jobs, though.
It's about creating a culture of innovation.
Encouraging young minds to think differently, solve problems, and make a difference on a global scale.
It's a pretty exciting time for India. We're seeing a new generation of innovators emerging.
Scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, policymakers ready to take on the world.
And for our listeners who are on that path to becoming those policymakers,
This understanding of India's innovative spirit is key.
you'll need to analyze those policies, see how they impact tech development, and make decisions that shape India's future.
It's all about that big picture perspective.
Seeing how today's innovations connect to tomorrow's policies,
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. India is on the verge of something truly special.
we're seeing this amazing blend of talent resources and a drive to innovate.
That could change not just India, but the whole world.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and never lose that curiosity.
The journey to becoming a UPSC officer is tough, but incredibly rewarding.
And hey, we're here to support you every step of the way.
So that's it for today's deep dive. We've covered a ton of info, analyzed trends, and hopefully sparked some new ideas for your UPSC prelims prep. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share this with your fellow aspirants. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the current affairs that matter most.
Until then, keep those minds sharp and best of luck on your exam journey.